Good evening. This is Stedman Fry, along with my co-host Amanda Goodman-Berry and Flex McGee, with Delta Workers Unite, the Working Class Podcast, your newest resource for news, updates, and information on the State of the Union drive and how you can get involved. We'll bring you interviews and stories from workers just like you and us who want to share happenings as they see them. We'll also be debunking the falsehoods and misconceptions about the union and giving you the tools to do the same. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you will know when we post or go live. Thank you.
Hey, happy Monday, everybody. How's it going?
What's up?
All right.
Hey.
I'm your host today, along with my co-host, Stedman Fry and Flex McGee. Today on the show, we have two well-educated veterans that's going to be breaking down to us how Deltas get their raises and how union carriers get their raises. I will now allow them to introduce themselves to you and just be ready for a well of knowledge today. And let's go. So Kip or Earl, you may start it out.
Earl, you want to hit it?
I'll start it off. My name is Earl Hunt, 28 years, Delta Airlines, stationed in Philadelphia on the ramp.
And my name is Kip Hedges, retired now, but 28 years on the ramp in Boston and MSP, and also a union steward on the shop committee, which means I negotiated locally with the company here in this hub for the union and the workers, and also a general chair, which means that I help to negotiate with the company in a particular region of the United States. So that's my background.
All right, we can't forget about our hosts, both Flex McGee and Stedman. Go ahead and jump right in and introduce yourself.
Stedman Fry here, Detroit, 18 years, ramp.
And as always, it's your boy Flex McGee, Atlanta, 25 years. And I'm excited to be here as always, man. I just want to give a warm welcome, man. Make sure that everybody show some love for my brothers Kip and Earl, man. Finally got Kip on the show. Earl's, you've been on before, so welcome back for you. And Kip, welcome for your first time, OG.
Thank you.
All right. All right, well, we're gonna jump right in because we got some good discussion going on today, heavy discussions going on today, and we got the heavy hitters. So let's get these questions rolling. All right. So Kip, I want to ask you, if it's okay, we can start out with you. How does Delta work? How does the workers at Delta and United get their raises?
So it's a real study in inequality when you look at it. On the one hand, and I'm speaking from firsthand knowledge because I was involved in this process, you take a carrier like United. The first thing they do is they have a contract proposal convention, and workers from around the system elect delegates to go to that convention. It's a 3-day convention where they talk about what are the things that are most important? What is our strategy for winning those? And it's a fairly intense debate over everything from wages to job security, et cetera. How do we want to present to the company? What do we want to present to the company? At the end of that, you have a pretty well sketched out plan and view of what you're trying to accomplish. And that's all done by delegates that are elected by the people. So the next step in this process is that the workers, again, around the system, elect a negotiating committee, which goes to the table with the company. These are people that you know, that you feel confident in, and that you elected from around the system to go and sit down with the company. And these workers are assisted in this process. The IAM provides expertise in the area of contract language, et cetera, with people who've negotiated contracts many times before, understand the process. We also have lawyers at our disposal, but it's the workers who are actually at the table. So then the next part of the process is that the negotiators negotiate the contract. They talk about everything from what the health insurance is going to look like, what the profit sharing formula is going to look like, et cetera, wages. They bring that proposed contract back to the membership, and that contract is voted on by the workers in the system. And you can vote it up or down. I know when we were in bankruptcy in 2005, it was a bankruptcy contract, but we voted down what was proposed by the negotiators. We said, not enough, even in bankruptcy. So they went back and they negotiated for me. We got stock in exchange for our concessions. And this is something that the pre-merger Delta workers did not get at all. It was just imposed by Delta. When I sold my stock a few years later, it was worth $15,000. Had we not had the choice of voting yes or no, we never would have got that $15,000 or whatever it was for each individual, because you could sell it whenever you wanted. So you can vote it up or down, and then you hopefully at some point you vote, everybody, or the majority votes yes for the contract, and then that becomes like your Bible at work. You know when you're going to get raises, the exact date when they go into effect, how much they are. You know what your insurance is going to be like, and the company can't come along and change it. The company cannot change the terms of employment and the terms of engagement with their employees. So deeply democratic. I mean, I've never been a cheerleader in the sense of like, oh, the IAM can do no wrong. But I have to say that the process that we went through and that United goes through, and IAM represented at American and Southwest, one of the most deeply democratic processes that you could imagine, because you get so many chances to have a voice. So then you go to Delta workers. the company says, here's what it is. That's it. Too bad if you don't like it. If you do, hooray for us. Once again, we've, we're the best company in the world. And they, what Delta workers get in terms of like this raise coming up, supposedly, should have been announced by now. They go to the brokerage houses and the hedge funds on Wall Street, and they say, hey, how much money can we give our workers and not have you think that we're managing our business badly? And so raises are dictated by Wall Street, not even by Delta, which is a totally different and undemocratic process when you compare it to what union workers have. So I'll, as they say, land my plane there and be quiet.
That's okay. That's okay. Stephen or Flex, did you have anything, Earl, that you want to add to that before we move forward?
That for what Kip was saying is 100% correct. And a prime example, look at COVID. Okay, so when our hours got slashed during COVID because, of course, there wasn't a lot of work. So you had senior leadership coming on saying that, you're going to have to take a sacrifice. Myself, the CEO of the company, have to take a sacrifice because business has dwindled drastically, heavily. And like I said, when you don't have a contract, you're not unionized, the company can implement what they want to implement for the company, basically. Prime example, there was a statement that senior leadership has said that any employee that takes a month off, comes back to work, you will get your 40 hours back. I know in Philly, almost half the guys on the ramp did that. They literally took 30 days off, came back thinking that they was gonna get their 40 hours back, and sure enough, their hours still got slashed. I have guys that still talk about it to this day during that situation. So that just proves that while not having a contract, while not having anything secure within the contract, the company can dictate, they can maneuver any ways they can what best suits for the company.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Flex.
Question for our panelists today. Why is that even important as a Delta employee? Like, why is it important to understand like that the company can't change things, or like knowing when your raises are coming? Like, what are like I'm speaking from somebody who might be on the fence. Let's just say I'm a person that's on the fence, and I just like what you're saying sounds good, but I don't want the company to go under because they're paying me as well. I'm pretty loyal to Delta and the company. So like, what would you say to someone like myself who's not quite sure that making sure that we lock in things for employees is for the betterment of the company? What would you say to them? What would you say to us?
Well, I'll take a stab at this one. The Southwest, United, and American, the other three big carriers, all make less money than Delta, and yet they are able to provide their workers with more pay, benefits, better work rules than Delta is, which is the industry leader in profits. So Delta is in no danger of going under. Obviously, in turbulent times like COVID or back in 2005 when the airline industry was being battered by competition, et cetera, changing circumstances. The union is not, if there's no airline, there's no union members. So it's not like you go and you try and gobble up the whole goose. You want the goose to stay alive so that it can keep on laying the golden eggs, which benefits you. But Delta clearly can afford to be the industry leader in every category. And right now, there's only one category that Delta is the industry leader in, and that is profit sharing, which continuously gets held over people's heads like, oh, if you get a union in, that profit sharing might go away. Not true. And maybe we can delve into that a little bit more, but you all know, you hear it. Hey, OSM is up there. If you vote in a union, profit sharing is going to go away. Flight benefits might go away. Both of those things are not true. So I'll stop there.
And just to piggyback off of that, what Kip was saying, a prime example was the bankruptcies in early mid 2000s. When the airlines, when there were 7 carriers on the property, it wasn't to a point where it's all about the unions or it was all about the companies, the airlines. It was about 2 entities working together to make sure that our companies will be to survive. And we went through bankruptcy. We went through the bankruptcy contracts. We gave money back as far as hourly wages, our work rules, medical benefits. All that was negotiated between the union and the airlines for the survival of the companies, for where we standing out right now. So if it wasn't for the employees of American Airlines, if it wasn't for the employees of Delta Airlines, if it wasn't for the employees of American Airlines that helped where these companies are at today, we wouldn't even have them. Everything was based on the concessions so the 2 entities can work together for the survival of the companies for where they're at today.
Well, thanks, Earl and Kip, for those answers. Was that it, Flex? Okay. All right. So Earl, while we're on you, so I want to ask you a question, and as we have talked about this here, one of the questions I want to ask you is, what does the union pilots at Delta and the Canadian union ground workers at Delta have scheduled? Why do they have scheduled pay raises and the U.S. ground workers for Delta does not?
Because if we look at the Canadian workforce for Delta, of course, they're unionized. The pilots for Delta Airlines here in the States are unionized. So they have a contract. They have a contract for which their unions and the company negotiated in good faith to secure a contract, which is based on work rules, pay, medical benefits, profit sharing. Every realm, every scope of their work environment revolves around that contract. And it's a legal binding contract. So if the company goes against the contract, there could be legal ramifications due to that. So for us, the ground workers in the United States, we don't have a contract. So basically, we are at the whim of the company. Basically whatever the company imposes on us as far as our pay, our benefits, our work rules, Delta can add on, they can take away at any time, depending on the economic situation that goes on in the country or globally in the world. So those contracts Canadian workers have and the pilots, secure contracts, legal binding contracts, like I said before, company goes against it, they can go to court. And the legal proceedings will take place due to that if those contracts are violated. They are legal binding contracts.
So let me make sure that the workers are understanding what you're saying here and that we're understanding what you're saying. The Canadian workers and the pilots have a union, and that is because they have a union and a contract, the company cannot touch them unless it's agreed upon. But Delta, United States workers, ramp, cargo, and tower are at-will employees, which means Delta have the right to do whatever they want to do when they want to do it because we do not have a contract. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. And once again, I can go back to, 2014. And I'm always the one, when they close out their financial quarters and they have the big meetings on Skyhub, I'm always one to watch it. I remember your senior leadership, and this was back in that third week in January. And your senior leadership was stating that in the weeks ahead, we're going to announce the raises, just give us some time. After the first quarter, we'll announce it. They were saying weeks, and that was around January, like that second, third week in January. We did not see no raise until June. Everything was stagnant. Like, we didn't hear nothing. We went to our managers. Managers apparently didn't know anything. So being at will employees, the company can impose, they can make rules at their discretion. So yes, that's 100% correct.
And can I just jump on this too?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Point number one is the Canadian workers and the pilots both know exactly when their next raise is and how much it's going to be. There's simply no question. It's in writing. They go to their contract book and they see it right there, which makes life much easier to plan when you know exactly what the next few years look like financially. The other thing is that it really struck me when I was talking to David Pink, who's one of the Canadian Delta ramp workers, who's also on their negotiating committee. He said, in Canada, they sit down at the negotiating committee to negotiate that contract. He says, it's not a hostile process. It's a cooperative process. And they end up with a contract that is, in some respects, better than what we're getting right now. And the same way with the pilots. I mean, occasionally the pilots are more contentious with the company, which they're usually very justified in doing. But it's the company talks about what a good relationship they have with their pilots, whom they negotiate with, and whom they give a contract that allows for industry-leading wages, benefits, every category. Delta's at the top. In fact, if another group of unionized pilots gets a bigger raise than what that puts them ahead of Delta pilots automatically get 1% above that. So they will never be not leading the industry. So if you're on the fence, you should think about the fact that we could get a Me Too clause in our contract exactly like that, which would mean that you would always be leading the industry and helping to keep the bottom from going down.
Wow. Thanks. That was good. Stedman, give us applause on that. Those were good answers. Thank you so much for that. Did you hear me? Go. Okay, Flex, you got your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Flex.
Hey, all of this is real good information, but I would like for you guys to speak directly to the employee who really is on the fence and they say, well, Delta's a good job. They've treated me correctly. Like, how does this affect me personally? Like, I want to try to speak to that person. Even though I have to answer my own question, but I was kind of giving you guys the opportunity to do a little talking today because it's always just the three of us. But like, how do we convey that message to our coworkers? To like, how does this union process effectively change my life?
How would it effectively change their lives? Well, my biggest thing is job security. That's my biggest thing is job security, because you see what's going on now. You have Unified, which is a subsidiary for Delta Airlines, and at any cost, from my experience, our jobs can be taken away depending on what's going on with the economic situation in this country. I'll give you a prime example. Many years ago when we was Northwest, and Northwest, Delta was on the same terminal. We knew a lot of those guys that worked for Delta. And DGS, Delta Global Service at the time, was equal to Unified. They did all the cabin service work. Delta guys that ran came to work one day. It wasn't no warning from management. There was like no rumors going around. There was no type of information about jobs being outsourced. I'm sorry. Managers came downstairs. They would say, the ramp in Philadelphia for Delta, was going to be outsourced, and that DGS was going to do the ground handling. So management at that time, within a few weeks, they had to figure out a plan to relocate to hold their job. It was even to a point where the managers and even some of the personnel that worked the ramp had to show the new company, DGS, how to do their jobs. So now, here we are 20 some years later, in my station, we had Unified just came in, and I know down the other end of the terminal, we have Unified doing a lot of ground handling work. And it's scary. Even with me, with 28 years, it's scary because in the back of my head, I remember what happened when we was Northwest and those guys from Delta had their jobs lost. So the biggest component to me is job security, because I know when I got laid off during 9/11 and I was Northwest, I was able, on my behalf, pick my station due to my seniority, where I could bump into a station and still hold my job if that station was able to hold my seniority. Delta, they don't have that. You get laid off, management can say you can only go to Atlanta, New York, Boston. That's it. Even though your seniority may be able to go anywhere else, they can dictate to you where you needed to go. And at that time I went to Newark. I was taking care of my father. I couldn't be somewhere 5-7 days a week and come back home. I was physically taking care of my father. So I had that option where I can pick my station due to my life circumstances, because I was taking care of my father, where I was able to make a 2-hour commute, come back home, and I was still able to take care of my father. In the Delta world, they'll just tell you where you need to go, and that's it.
I would hit on 4 points. The first point is, remember when Delta changed health insurance without hardly any notice, so that you had people who were going to the pharmacy to get their inhaler for their child, and the pharmacy said, "Oh no, we don't cover that anymore." And so it left people scrambling to try and figure out, in the meantime, how they were going to get the medication that they and their families needed. That would not happen with the union contract. Number two, right now, in almost every pay step, from beginning to 10 and a half or 11 years, unionized carriers, workers that unionize carriers, like at American, make $2 more an hour than Delta workers do. If you are working a 40-hour line, you're talking about $4,000 more per year, that's real stuff. That makes a difference in your life. And even if you're on a 20-hour line, you're talking about $2,000 more a year. So instead of falling behind in your bills and having to catch up with your profit sharing, you are in good shape if you're making what American is right now. The third thing, and this is really directed at the seasonals, who sometimes say, "Oh, I'm only here like certain number of hours. What can the union do for me?" I see stuff on Delta Workers Unite and other Facebook and social media platforms where seasonal workers are getting whipped around in terms of when they're working, how many hours they're working. Are they working, part of the year? Are they working the whole year? If you look around the system, seasonal workers get abused, and especially with the question of hours. And if you had a union contract, you could write it right into the contract that there had to be certain rules followed for seasonal workers so they could plan their lives. because if all of a sudden your hours or your shift or whatever gets whipped around, you might have to quit. And a lot of seasonal workers do, because they just, well, I got another job. I'd rather have this job or that job than this job. So I quit, which is extremely unfortunate. A union contract would make it so that would not happen. And then just the last thing is, right now, I'm hearing all sorts of stuff about people having to go from a 40-hour line to a 25 or a 20-hour line, and it wrecks their lives. With a union contract, you would have guaranteed percentages. You would know what you would be able to hold as far as a 40-hour line, a 20-hour line, whatever, and you could plan your life accordingly. So just in terms of stability, it's a world of difference, not to mention that OSMs can't just say, oh, you know what, don't like you, you're gone, bye. And then 3 months later, HR gets back to you and says, oh, yeah, you appealed, but we think the OSM was right, so you're fired. Or you can either quit or you can be fired, which is a common story. So those are just some of the ways that somebody who's on the fence should be thinking about things.
And Kip, just to piggyback off of that, what Kip is saying right now is 100% facts. And I'll give you a prime example. We have a guy about a month or two ago, he transferred from LaGuardia, young kid, 23, 24 years of age, transferring in. And we recently had, during that time, we had one of our guys resign. He was a Delta guy, been with the company 8, 9 years. I guess with all the stuff that was going on, he just resigned. He was a young kid also. No family, no kids. It was just basically him. So the transfer that came in was taking the line. He was taking the supposed to be 40-hour line from the employee that resigned. When the new transfer came in from LaGuardia, and it was a 40-hour line that was open for him to have, it was changed from 40 hours down to 30. So here we are now. In the springtime, going into the summer, which all my years and all of us know, especially in the spring and the summertime, this time of year, it's basically all hands on deck. I have never in my career have seen a line get decreased when a new hire came in as a transfer, just behind the fact that they're trying to conserve money. And that just proves to you right then and there where, this company is about conserving money, revenue off the back of the workforce. And that's just the bottom line. It's the same thing when we transitioned over to Delta. When we was Northwest, we had very good benefits, subsidized medical. At the time, I was engaged and getting married. And when I got married, my wife was going to grad school. So she was on my medical insurance. The premiums was very, very low. It was the same amount of benefits that I was going to get, subsidized medical. When the merger came, time goes on, you get older, I developed type 2 diabetes. Okay. So when we was looking at the plans, when my wife got done with grad school, we was literally at the table and we was looking at my plan with Delta versus her plan. Now, my wife is a teacher at the school district. They're represented through AFT, one of the biggest teachers unions in the country. To give you a prime example, how union contracts with medical give you subsidized rates, very prime example. Underneath Delta, and this was many years ago, I take metformin twice a day to control my blood sugar. Through Delta, a 3-month supply at that time was going to run me almost $300 for a 3-month supply. Underneath my wife's plan, her medical plan through AFT, that 3-month supply, and I'm still on my wife's medical. That 3-month supply I pay is $3.40 for 3 months.
Wow.
Do the math. So what happens is, as you join the airlines, you may not have to worry about medical because I'm young, I'm vibrant, I don't need medical. But if you choose to stay with a company, trust me, you're going to gain some type of ailment as you get older. The cost that Delta gives, you pay out so much of a high premium as far as what you pay in insurance, but the services are less. So that's another big thing, like I said, as far as with your medical.
Go ahead, Flex.
I just want to jump in real quick to let people know when we speak about seasonal work. Currently, the seasonals in Atlanta I believe they're getting ready to start bidding to come back for the summertime. And for the first time ever, they're only bidding start times. They're only bidding shifts. They're not bidding areas anymore. So now you bid the time of day that you want, but you have no clue where you're even going. This is a complete lack of respect to seniority, regardless of how much or how little of it you have. People have to understand that not being able to bid your shift and your area is a disrespect to however many years of service that you have. If somebody with less time, then you get something that you would have rather had on a start time. Like it's like we are getting to the point of where the company is just they're blatantly disrespecting us on every aspect of everything we do. Like they're literally begging us to unionize. I don't know why, but that's what it feels like to me. Because everything that they had that was special, the only thing special about Delta at this point, in my opinion, is the people. It's us. It's us. We create all of the magic that happens at Delta. You know what I'm saying? And we have to figure out a way to be compensated and continue to preserve that for workers like ourselves. Even for the worker who doesn't realize what it is that we bring to the table. We have to figure out how to get that across to them and preserve it for all of us.
Yep.
That's facts.
Go ahead.
Doing a little bit of work in the background, but I think that's really important point to hit on. Dealing with this topic of raises and stuff, we've seen in the news just publicly that, they talked about the economic situation, right? And how they're saying that there may be a lesser demand for air travel domestically. You see that with Southwest. There may be a recession coming, right? And so when you look at the way companies try to make money, right? And they make money, either they try to cut wages, or they'll try to cut employees, or they'll cut hours, or some combination of those things, right? But like what Flex is saying, when you look at, if you're just bidding shift start times and not areas, what they're essentially going to try to do is plug you where they need you on a daily basis. So this is another way that they think they can game the system by, hey, if we need more people here on Fridays, because we use whatever program or software or AI or intuitive programming to figure out our schedule on a daily basis, or a weekly or seasonal basis, or even hourly, because some of these programs are really advanced. And we know on Fridays at this time, we need more people in this area, we'll move everybody over here. And if we know on Saturdays at this time, we need people over in this area, we'll move everybody over there. And that all works great when it works. But like I always tell people, like, Delta likes to operate as if every day is 72 and sunny and nobody's sick and nobody's hurt. And that's not the reality. Every day we work with something. The weather in some part of the country is bad. Like Flex and I mean, not Flex, but Amanda and Kip are saying they're having pretty bad weather in Minnesota right now. Maybe tornadoes later, right? And here I am in Detroit. It's sunny right now, about 70 degrees. I don't know what the weather is in Philly or Atlanta, but all over the country and the world, there's all kind of weather going on. That alone presents problems for the air industry. Saying nothing of what passengers may do and how you want to accommodate them. Saying nothing of what other maybe geopolitical issues may come up. And so when we do this, like Flex is saying, are they daring us to join a union? Right? Are they, people say, are they playing in our faces to the point where they want to say they got us so good they know we won't? Is that where we are? Are we so trapped or whatever in this idea that this is such a good job that we can't afford to lose it, even at the risk of it being better, becoming better, right? That we'll just take whatever they give us. And is that what we're saying? We're more afraid of it getting better than we are of it staying as bad as it is. Because if it can get worse,
it will.
It will.
Right?
It will.
It's going to get worse either way.
It will. I mean, not to cut you off, Stephen, but the way I look at things, that even if you haven't been watching the news, the country globally is going through an economic situation right now, which could possibly go into a recession. We're probably in one now, just haven't been announced. But when you have the workforce that's given 100% in to try to make this company the best that it is, I give all credit where credit is due. But as far as with the workers, the respect is not there through this company. It's not. It's not. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no way getting around it. So I go out on injury tomorrow, God forbid, right? And I've been through this, and then after using my holidays and PPT time, whatever, and then I'm only going to get 60% of disability. You might as well say 50. 60% of that. While I look at the other carriers, American, United, they're sitting on, when we had it with Northwest, OJI time, that was covering your time, your salary, where all of us now, even with vacation, you should be sitting on 6-7 weeks of vacation at 5 weeks, 20 some plus years, 5 weeks of vacation. Even look at our pay progressions. We're the lowest. We are the lowest. And right now, and I'm just going by, from the past, negotiations are going on with United, and it's happened before where the company's going to sit back and wait to see what United would get done with negotiations. Then they'll come out to see what our pay raise is. And if it is above United, it's not going to be much. It's not going to be a lot. So where is the respect for the workforce? Where? Because I don't see it. The only thing that the company has is profit share. That's it. Everything else that stems as far as our work life, our work environment is to the bottom. And that's just fact.
Can I jump in for 1 second on this thing that Flex raised about seasonals in Atlanta? So nobody is coming to rescue us but us. The only way we get to an election and win an election is if the people on the floor do it through collection of cards and then through debunking the falsehoods that the company throws out there, like you'll lose your profit sharing, et cetera, to try and scare people. But if you're a seasonal in Atlanta and you're pissed off about having to blind bid, where you're seasonal, you have enough seniority to be someplace you thought you had enough seniority to be someplace that you wanted, no more. So if you're pissed off about that, we need your help. We need people on the floor to be out there collecting cards, talking to their coworkers, and making this a massive cause. I mean, we're part of the way there. We have a lot of support around the system, and has been pointed out on this program before. If you add the current cards and the expired cards together, if we had a 2-year instead of a 1-year time frame where cards are good, we would have filed back, a while ago, like months ago. So we have a task, but it can only happen if the seasonal in Atlanta who's pissed off, if the full timer in Milwaukee who got their hours slashed from 40 to 30, who has to go and get a second job now. If you're pissed off about that, we need you. We need you because a union can make a difference on this.
Great answer, Flex. Go ahead. I knew you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, man. I always have something to say, and then you guys get to talking, and I'll be like, man, I want to talk about that too. So I kind of had a little mini rant coming, but you know what? I really want to shift my focus to kind of what Kip is saying about asking people for help. Like, if you have an issue with something, then now is the time to step up and say what your issue is, figure out what your grievance is. Like, you're not alone. All of us are on this call today or watching this. It's because we have grievances of what's going on with the company. And we are here to stand up and fight for change. At this point in the game, you can't say, "Oh, I signed a card," or "He's doing it," or "She's doing it." You have to really like look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, "What am I doing?" Like I really want to give like Kip and Earl, Amanda, Stephanie, you guys do a great job every week. But I really want to give you your flowers in the moment to tell you guys really hitting on some real important topics that people need to understand, and being able to take the onus as an employee and understand what my part in this is for everybody. You guys are really hitting the nail on the head with that. And we appreciate you being able to come on, because sometimes, like y'all know, I will rant. So sometimes I could just seem like the employee that's just angry. And I am. And sometimes I am. I am angry about how we let people treat us. I am angry that you don't have a problem coming and telling me about how you feel about your current situation at Delta. But when I ask you to help me, you be like, "What can I do?" And when I tell you what you can do, you really like, "Well, yeah, but I'm just one person." That, like, me too. I'm just one person. All of us is just one person, but collectively, the five of us make a fist. And a fist is always going to be tougher than a thumb. You know what I'm saying? If we collect enough fists, put your fist in there if you're in the chat right now, man. You hear us? Put your fist in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to continue to make fists and keep throwing punches and make sure that they understand that we're not going away. That's what this whole movement is about, us making sure that we continue to fight for what's right and for what we deserve, and as Amanda would always say, what we've earned. Thank you, Dan. I seen that too. I seen what you said earlier too, Dan. Appreciate the fist in the air, because you're always on here with us, even when you're not with us. But thank you, Yvette. But yeah, like we have to continue to fight. We got to dig in. I'm tired. Everybody's tired. We got to continue to dig in and find the strength that we need to actually pull this thing through, because we can do it. It's very doable. It's a lot of work, but we've already done a lot of work. And now is not the time to give in. But yeah, Kip and Earl, I'm telling you, man, y'all killing it right now. But I got to get a rant in here every show. So that was my little James. What's up, Bill's Mafia, baby? But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in. I had some other stuff that I want to talk about, but you guys were killing it so good, man. Like, it's so much. People don't really understand how messed up it is until it hits home. I talk to people all the time. "Oh, my 401k is good. I don't really need this job. I got another job." I got a coworker of mine right now who he works full-time at the post office, full-time at Delta. He hurt himself at Delta to the point to where he can't work his full-time job. So he's out as his full-time job, getting 60% from his Delta pay. His full-time job was his real job, but he was working, he had two full-time jobs. He's currently out because, and over there, it's not like an occupational industry. He's just out sick because he can't work his regular job because he got hurt at Delta. He got hit with a can and dislocated his shoulder. Somebody who didn't know, was improperly trained. They took off and they knocked his shoulder out of socket. So here he is. You understand? Dealing with all of this, all off of 60%. This is somebody who was used to two full-time incomes, making 60% of his second job. We don't think about this stuff until it hits home. Everything's all good with you until all of a sudden you got a bill to pay, or you realize that you can't pay a bill, or some of us, we go out on 60%, man. You can cut that internet, that cable. It's a bunch of stuff we can cut off the first day it happened.
There you go.
First day it happened.
There you go.
Because if I'm gonna be out for 60 to 90 days, we got to start tightening up around here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but that's all I got.
That now, Flex, that's facts, because I went through that, and my father used to tell me, as I was coming up, you get paid, save something. And I've kept that mentality. When I messed up my hand and I was out for 3 months, If it wasn't, I'm the type of believer saving something. If I had my little savings going on, it would have been an issue. And that's what gets me so mad and so pissed off to a point that a company like Delta, and we all got about the same amount of years. I remember when Airlines, if they was making $100 million for the year, profit, revenue, they're eating. Delta's making billions of dollars. But you're telling me I don't have OJI time? You're telling me that my pay progression is stagnant? That's as far as with the work within all the departments. That's a slap in the face. It's no respect. Only thing they're concerned about right now is profit. And they're taking it off the back of the employees. And that's one thing I always say, that education is the key. Educate yourself with United. Do the education stuff with American, Southwest, and compare what Delta has. It will be an eye-opener. And I've done that in my station, and it is resulting in getting caught. So
and you saying it, Earl, and just I haven't said much, and I know I ran it a little, man, and I apologize, but I just want to jump in. It's really the fear campaign that we're trying to defeat and tackle. If we start talking about unionizing, people are going to start talking about, well, didn't they just get laid off, especially in Atlanta? Didn't they just get a bunch of them just got laid off over at Southwest? Like, they don't understand that anybody can be laid off anywhere. It's like, what is it that they're offering you if it happens to you?
Right.
The people because hey, Earl, I met you because I was laid off somewhere, and you was laid off from somewhere. We worked in Newark together. Neither one of us was in Newark at the time. We had recall rights somewhere else. That's how I met you 20 years ago. But it's about what do you have to compensate the employee with in the event that you make that decision. It's not the union that's laying people off. The company's making decisions. But how do we compensate the employees after we make our decisions? That's what people don't understand about layoffs.
Exactly. And the thing about it, being at will employees, you're at the discretion of the company. So they can outsource the ramp, and they can tell you there ain't no jobs for you to go, even though there may be. They don't have to guarantee you a job. By me having a union contract with Northwest, and we have bumping rights where I can go to another station that I can hold due to my seniority and bump in. And like I said, with my life experience, at that time, I was taking care of my father, who was critically ill. I had to set up hospice at his home. But I was still to come home every day, even though I had to make almost a 2-hour drive from Newark back to PA every single day. But I had this peace of mind that even though my house was right around the corner from my father, I was home. Anything happened, I'm right there. And this is what people need to understand, that union contracts, as far as what workers are concerned, it goes ahead and gives them stability. Where here at Delta Airlines, we don't have stability in every avenue. All these surveys that we get, all the core issue problems that we have, equipment, staffing, it's been 15 years and it has not been resolved. When? When will it get resolved? Never. And it's been 15 years up to the point, up to now. And then all these surveys. I told my manager one time, why should I wait for keystroke? Why? Nothing has been done. The equipment that we have now is still the equipment that we had 15 years ago. I said, I remember Northwest, we had some of these tugs. We had them during my Northwest time, and they're working them now.
And one more thing that hit home to me a couple of days ago was, the stock market has lost a lot of its value, and that means 401ks are taking a big hit. They may take a bigger hit. And I was talking to somebody who's getting close to retirement at Delta, and they were panicking because they were saying, I don't know if I'll ever regain that value. And that's kind of messing up my state of mind, because I can't depend on my 401k. And you never think about that, but then the economy goes down. And if you're at United and you're getting close to retirement, you might be taking a hit on a 401k if you have one, but you have an IAM pension that you can depend on. It's not going down. It's not taking a hit right now. You retire tomorrow, you are going to get, I think it's up around $90 a month per year of service, which
Mm-hmm.
if you have 20 years, that's $1,800 a month. So between Social Security, a 401k, and a pension, you're okay, even if your 401k takes a hit. So you may not be thinking about that right now, and you may be a seasonal. I'm just here for a couple of years. There's a lot of people on this that I'm looking at right now that said, "Oh, I'm only here for a year or two," and here years later. But so just to think about all the different aspects of this in terms of, like all of you are talking about, the security that you can have. It's like it's mouth watering because it's within reach. So that you can have an impact on your own future.
And just to piggyback off that with the pension, with the IM pension, that's another thing that I still have a sour tooth in my mouth because I know what I should be sitting on right now. When we went through bankruptcy proceedings and the pensions through Northwest was done, it was frozen, and we went through the IM plan, just to put it in perspective, and this is early mid 2000s, that pension plan at that time starting, if I could recall, it was about $32, $33 a year for every year of service. Tell me if I'm wrong, Kip. It's more than doubled at the time where we're at now. Almost 90 some dollars a year for every year of service. That's huge. That's
Right.
huge. And that's another thing that I've lost. And that's just that stability with Delta is not there. It's not.
And
But
let me just say one more thing, and I know we're about to run out of time. When we started off, I was talking about the difference between how raises happen at United and how they happen at Delta. Do you really want your future to be in the way the system works? But somebody on Wall Street, a BlackRock Investments, that does absolutely not care about you at all. The way it's designed, they care about return on investment. And, you can't blame them for that. But the way to deal with that is to have an organization, to have collective power so that they can't just whip you around, so that the decision does not stop with them, that you have a voice in that decision. And that's really what's at stake here, is whether you have a voice or whether you want to trust somebody with a $10,000 suit on Wall Street and a $500 haircut. And if you're like me, you don't care about the haircut. But yeah.
I'm sorry, Kim.
hey, no, yeah, Kim, go, yeah. I was gonna say, man, Fry, just real quick, one time for the panelists, can we get a round of applause for these guys, man?
Yes,
We got old man
yes.
Kip in here, fired up. We got Earl fired up, and that's always a good thing, man. Now, one thing I do want to say, because I know Amanda getting ready to run us off of here. I know how she get with this time thing. I know my sister. But yo, seriously, man, and we really probably should do a part 2 to this with you guys to get you guys to come back. But I would just want to know from each of you, Kip, as from a retiree, I know you work so closely with us and everything we do. And Earl, if I could just get you guys, like, what would you want to say to the and you've been saying it all day, brothers. What would you say to the people that's on the fence about joining the cause, either whether it's signing a card or if it's a situation that, I want to get more involved, but I don't want to lose my job. Like, what would you say to the people that are out there who are, it's like the double Dutch line when we in the 80s when the girls were sitting there waiting to jump in, but they couldn't really get their rhythm. How would you help those people catch their rhythm and jump right in this thing? What do you guys got to say to them?
Well,
So before they answer that, we Can you guys commit to a part 2? Because I had 6 questions for you. We only got through 2 because you guys were so fired up. So I just let it flow. So I would love to have a comeback so that we can get through the rest of the questions. Would you guys be available to do a part 2? Flex took the word out of my mouth because you guys have fired up and gave some burning information today to the workers. So can I count on you guys to have a part 2 so that we can get through these questions? Like Flex said, I'm all about my time.
Yeah, anytime you want.
Anytime,
Okay, so
anytime, let me know.
okay, so because we got 4 more questions that I have, I think that would be very relevant that need to be answered, but we are at an hour. And unfortunately, we're going to have to let you guys answer the question that Flex answered and wrap it up. Okay. So go ahead. What would you say to someone who's on the fence about signing a card, about joining the union, and about helping us organize and getting involved? What would you say to motivate that person of the importance of why we need them? We need their help as Delta workers to get this job done. So Delta can stop thinking that we're barking, but we're biting. So how do we get them to bite?
Well, I would say everybody that's listening to this that works on the ramp or cargo, tower, you're probably not going to have the same problem, but it's a dangerous job. I mean, I got the surgical scars to prove that my body got beat up. I have a battery in my back that kills the pain signals going to my brain because my discs in my back are all worn down. And that's just normal wear and tear in this job that we do. But it's also dangerous in the way that you might be the best employee. You might, go to Velvet. You might do all the things. And tomorrow when you go out on the ramp, somebody hits you with a cart or a tug or a belt loader or whatever. And all of a sudden your life changes because for let's say the next 6 months, you're out of work and you're on 60% income. If you had a union, number one, we would help you with getting a OJI lawyer to protect your rights along with the union. We would help you with that. We did that all the time. The other part of it is that you would have accumulated sick time, accumulated OJI time, and then long-term disability when that ran out. So you would literally never miss a full paycheck, which when you take away 40% of somebody's income, that's a major lifestyle change. So just things like that you don't normally think about, or you get into trouble with an OSM and all of a sudden you find yourself on the other side of security. With a union, that simply, it doesn't mean that if you do something bad, you're going to have to pay the consequences for it. But a union can be there to make sure that you get fairness. Even if you don't think right now, I'm the perfect employee and I'll never get in trouble. Lots of people have said that before. So uncertainty, it's like an insurance policy that's backed up with all of us sticking together.
Great answer. Great answer. Go ahead, Earl.
And what I would say throughout this whole process, you can use this for every aspect of your life, working at Delta, even doing your personal life. Knowledge is power. Education is key. It's your federal right to organize if choose. So I don't want to hear it. Well, my manager said that, profit sharing will go away. Profit sharing is a standard for the airline industry. Let me repeat myself. Profit sharing is a standard in the airline industry. So how will one department won't have it and another will? That will bring so much chaos, will be uncalled for. So like I'm trying to tell everybody, educate yourself. It's your federal right to organize at your station. Educate yourself in the process. Look at all the other airlines' benefits, work rules, and compare it to Delta and see what you're supposed to be getting versus the other legacy carriers. That's what I would say.
All right. Thank you, brothers. Thank you, brothers. Did either my co-hosts have anything they want to say before we wrap up? But let me say thank you to all the comments, Brother Dan and Sister Yvette. Y'all was on fire in those comments today. Thank you for listening. So did my co-hosts, do you have anything you want to say before I wrap it up?
Yeah, I just two things. So maybe for the next discussion, we could even get into Social Security offset, because I think that's an aspect of the 401k that is not talked about, right? We didn't have that with the pension. And the other thing, as much as we've talked about employees taking cutbacks and modifying schedules even for seasonals and all this cutbacks in hours, does the CEO take a cutback? Have we ever seen Ed take a cutback? Did we see Richard take a cutback? Nope. You know, are they taking cutbacks when they need so much from us employees to try to keep the company solvent, or we're getting into tough times? They haven't mentioned a raise, right? We should have heard about a raise by now. And I say, you know, I don't want to put a number out there, but I say anything short of 10% is an insult, given the economic situation that we face. But, you know, he made $34 million or $36 million total compensation in 2023. Is he going to take a pay cut so that he can help the company to stay solvent? Right? So those are my 2 points. Thanks.
And I'm just going to end it off and say, hey, man, I really enjoyed this conversation today. I've already given flowers to Earl and Kip, my brothers from Philly and from Boston, New York. I really, New Yorker at heart. And of course, every week it's Amanda and Fry. I just want to show some love to the chat real quick, because the chat was bubbling today. I saw the stuff that y'all was saying. Yeah, the chat was bubbling today. And I want to make sure you guys are acknowledged, man. The people in the comment section was going crazy. You guys were spot on, as Dan McCurdy likes to say. And I appreciate y'all sticking. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, man. And you sitting here fighting with us. I love it, man. That's all I got to say.
This is family. You know,
it's family. Yeah, of course.
This is a real family. Even
absolutely.
That's right.
You know, you call OG. At my age, I'm an OG, an old original.
Yes, you are.
The original.
Yes, you are.
How about that? The original OG.
The original.
All right, you guys, thank you. As we come to a wrap up, I want to let the audience know, thank you for sharing your time with us today. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell and hit all so that you get every time we upload a video. Please don't forget to share, comment, repost, post, and like our podcast. We thank you for tuning in with us today, and we'll see you on next Monday. Thank you for your time. Solidarity, everybody. Solidarity forever. We'll see you next week.
Love, baby.